we're doing a video which I think is needed, especially if you've seen my recent physical TBR video where I go through and I'm like, oh, I've had this book for ages and I've had this book for ages. We're tackling them today. Hi guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today we are reading books that I've been avoiding but that I've got the audiobook for, because if you've been around for a while you will know that I love an audiobook. I go through them quite quickly. I have them on quite a quick listening speed, so I listen to my audiobooks on 3 times speed, which is crazy, but my brain does kind of take it in, and if I'm struggling then I will turn the speed down obviously, but I get through audiobook really quickly. And so I thought, what best way than some of the books that I've had on my TBR for quite a while, the books on the TBR cut, which I was like, I've had this one for years, if I don't get through this one then it's gone, I am going to try and get through whilst listening to the audiobook. So that is what we're doing this week. I have 3 books, 3 audiobook that we are going to be getting through. So we have The Fall by Lisa Jensen. This one is a thriller. We've got Homecoming by Luann Goldie, and this one is a contemporary literary fiction based around friendship. And we've got Room by Emma Donoghue, which I think is like a mystery thriller. Doesn't really give you much to go off. I am not going to go into the books now because I will give you the synopses when we get to their individual clips, but I am looking forward to getting to all of these this week, and that does mark 3 books that have been on my TBR for far too long. I think when I did the video I've got about 10 books out of all of them that I'm really putting off, but these are 3 of the longest books I've had on there, so I'm very excited to get to them and to find out what we think, because we all know we put books off and they're actually better than what we expected. So let's get into the video. Okay, so as the title says, and I've explained in the intro, I've been avoiding this book for far too long. I want to say I've had this book on my TBR for literally years, and I got the audiobook for it and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to pick it up. Now, I am 50% of the way through, I think literally pretty much dead on 50%, and this book did not follow the synopsis that I thought it would. I'm going to read you the blurb on the back because I don't want to spoil too much, but I also don't want to give you nothing because otherwise we've got nothing to base our review on. So the back says, at her surprise 40th birthday party, Kate Granger feels like the luckiest woman alive, but just hours later her 15-year-old daughter Kaylee is found unconscious underneath the bridge when she should have been at school. Now Kaylee lies comatose in her hospital bed and the police don't believe it was an accident. It soon becomes clear that not everyone in the family was where they claimed to be at the time of her fall. Kaylee should be safe in hospital, but not everyone wants her to wake up. Someone is desperate to protect the truth, and it isn't just Kaylee's life that is in danger, because some secrets are worth killing for. So the synopsis pretty much does perfectly describe what the book was about, but I don't think I read that before fully going into this, and then when I think I must have read it at one point but just completely forgotten it, and the picture just is boring. It doesn't suggest anything like that. And Kaylee, the girl that is in the coma, her and her cousin are daughters of twin sisters, and so they are also very similar, and they are both dancers, and so that's a different element as well, because that adds a lot of thought process into, is this jealousy from a co-star in the show, which obviously if you've been around for a while you know that I used to do musical theatre, I used to do theatre, so I have kind of been in that environment before where you are pushing for auditions, roles, parts, trying to get your name out there, trying to be seen, so I can understand the pressure of that environment. But this picture doesn't give any of that, and so what I will say is I flew through the first 50% a couple of days ago, and I've been meaning to update you guys, which has kind of been a little bit of a friction to carrying on the book, but also I just don't want to. Like, I will finish it and I will give you guys my final thoughts, but I think this might be a theme of the books in this video, because I've been putting them off for so long. I have no desire to read them, even though this book has started off really good, and I am intrigued to see what all the secrets are, who everyone is in the family, who's lying, who's saying what about the other person. But with that being said, I'm just not like fully drawn in. I'm not fully intrigued. I'm not fully into the story like I should be, I think. And I think part of it is just prejudice to the fact that I just have been putting off for so long. I'm kind of, in my brain, I've got that subconscious thought of I'm not going to like it. But so far it is good. It's nothing, I would say, groundbreaking, but I feel like I say that with all the thrillers that I ever read, is you kind of have to get to the ending, and the ending then determines the rating. At the moment we're at that 3-star, but we are really really just in the thick of the plot. We've seen Kaylee obviously get hurt. We're having past timelines, seeing the girls go up to the show, lead up to the show, some of Kaylee's like movements up before the show, things that were going on. There's past timelines, seeing what the character dynamic were with each character. There's secrets. A big secret's come out between two of the main characters, so could that be the reason why? But I feel like the arrest that's happened is just too obvious. The people that we're talking and looking at are just too obvious, and if it turns out to be one of them, it either needs to be for a completely different reason, or it's too predictable, or it has to be someone that you're not even thinking of. So we will find out, but I am really enjoying it, and you do get an unknown POV, so each chapter is in the point of view of a character. But you do get random chapters from an unknown POV, which is the person that did it, so they are still involved, they're still around, so you're kind of trying to figure out, piece together who that could be. But I have my suspicions. I'm just hoping I'm wrong because they're all quite obvious. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to it. I'm hoping to finish the other 50% relatively soon so we can get started on, I think I'm gonna do Homecoming next, because Room as well seems like quite a thriller mystery book, and I don't think Homecoming is, so I will give you my final thoughts, and then I'll let you know what book we're settling into next. Okay, The Fall. I literally filmed the clip yesterday saying, oh, like, I'm just not sure, I'm just not getting into the book, and I went onto I think I got it on Audiobooks from my library. I went onto the app and realised that I actually read a lot more than what I expected. So I had around 5 hours left of listening time, but I listened to it on 3 times speed. So it was just under 2 hours I had left of listening time, and I was like, I can absolutely get that done today. So I was going out for my walk and I was just like, I really don't want to listen to it. There was just nothing that was drawing me in. Like I said to you yesterday, the storyline when you were listening to it was really good and the plot was really interesting, but nothing was drawing me back to it. And I felt like that's where I struggled, because the storyline was good, but I wasn't being drawn back to the book. I wasn't invested enough to care about continuing, but I did care about what happened. So I kind of forced myself to listen to it on my walk, and then by that point the twists started happening, and I ended up getting home last night after my walk and my drive to and from my meal out with about 15 minutes left. So I finished it last night, and I will say, not what I expected. The twists, not what I expected. There's still a couple of open-ended questions which I believe, the way I've been interpreted it is that I've got the answers, and that the answers that I've got I'm satisfied with, because there was a twist towards the end with one of the kind of side characters which was so left field, you genuinely never would have seen it coming, like so left field. But I think my issue with this book, I ended up rating this one 4 stars because I did like the twists at the end and I didn't see them coming, so for that reason I did rate it quite highly. But what I will say, and what I struggled with, is you have the main storyline of obviously Kaylee falling into a river from a bridge and they suspect it's foul play, but there's also this side plot line, or like 2 or 3 side plot lines, and it's based a lot around like debt and money. And so there's a side plot line with that, and then there's a side plot line with like a farmhand, and that side plot line with the farmhand never kind of came through, because basically it was all decided, one thing was decided, and then they kind of just left it and nothing ever came through from it, and you got a half solution towards the end, which did kind of throw me out a little bit with this book. I like the twists, and the reason why it's not a 3-star is because I like how much the twists did get me towards the end. Is this the most inventive thriller I've ever read? No. Is it one that I would recommend wholeheartedly? No. I do think it's a very solid like mystery thriller. I am shocked by who did it, and I am shocked by how the characters reacted to who did it, and kind of the ending it towards the end. I think a lot of things were added in for plot development that didn't need to be there. I will say we could probably get rid of 100 pages of this book, really sharpen it down to be a very like a Freedom McFadden length, a proper short, sharp thriller, and actually that would have been so impactful, but we elongated it out and had to add in these extra plot points which I just don't think were necessary. I think the side character from the farmhand plotline really just didn't need to happen. It could have, like, the conflict that he caused in the story could have been done by someone else, or could have happened in a different way. I just feel like he his plotline wasn't necessary. And I think a lot of that then would have taken, that alone would have taken probably out 100 pages, and it just wasn't needed. So it was a good book. I'm glad I've read it. I'm glad that it's off my TBR cart, because every time I was looking at it, I kept looking and going, I need to read this one because it's been on there for so long. But what I will say is I don't think it's the best thriller I've ever read, and come towards like maybe even the end of the month, the end of the year, that rating might drop down to a 3-star. Even talking about it now, I'm thinking maybe I rated it as a 4-star, was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to the end of the twist being really good. On reflection, the whole story wasn't really that 4-star vibe. I think I will change it on Goodreads, and I think I will rate it a 3-star. I think it was a good middle of the road book. If you like thrillers and you want a thriller that's more, or even more a mystery that's more kind of chaotic, this is the book to go for. But other than that, I won't be like recommending it moving forward. We've officially started it. We have started Homecoming by Lauren Golding. Obviously you would have seen my clip for The Fall. I finished that one yesterday, and then today on my walk this morning we read Homecoming. I am on page 76, chapter 8, which is about 20% of the way through, so I'm not that far through, but so far we are following Kiama, who has a African parents, I believe his dad's from African descent. They're living in the UK, and his mum is originally from Kenya. And from what you've got so far is he lives with his dad, and his mum has passed away, and he is got in touch with Yvonne, who used to be best friends with Kiama's mum when they went to university together. And there was a little bit of a love triangle situation with Kiama's dad, his mum, and Yvonne. But years in like the future, when Kiama's grown up, he has decided he wants to go back to Kenya to figure out, I'm guessing, what happened with his mum. We've not really got, something happened in Kenya all those years ago, and we're not really got to that point. We've also not got to the point of him being conceived. So we are following kind of a past present timeline. You're following the past timeline of when Yvonne, Emma, who is Kiama's mum, and Liam, who's Kiama's dad, were first meeting. Emma and Liam were first dating, but there is slight history with Yvonne, and you're kind of seeing that play out and how that plays out. And then you're following the present timeline when Kiama's gone to Yvonne and said, I want to go back to Kenya, please come with me. So I'm guessing that they're going to build like an unexpected friendship, and he's going to learn a lot more about his mum. And I do think this is going to be quite a wholesome story, a story of finding yourself, finding lots more about yourself and who you are. But I will update you more when I've got a bit more of an update. I will say at the moment I'm not loving it. It's not my usual read. That's what I'll say. It's not my usual read. It's not my usual type of read, but I am intrigued. So I will let you know when I've got a few more thoughts on this book, because I'm sure it will be beautiful and it will be worth reading. But I will let you know when I've got that thoughts and feelings, and we're probably going to be about halfway through when it gets to that point. Okay, so we have I think it's 85% update. I was going to update you halfway through, but I never got around to it, and then I carried on obviously listening to it on my walk this morning, and I have about half an hour listening time left on the speed that I listen to, so I do hope to finish this book today. So I wanted to get a second check-in done before we officially finish this. I will say, in this book you are following Kiama, whose mum passed away. She's passed away. She used to be Yvonne's best friend, so you're following both of them, and that's why they've gone to Kenya, because she didn't pass away in like a normal way. Something happened, and so throughout the book you are trying to gauge what happened, and you don't know what's happened. I have only just at this point found out what actually happened to her, kind of why going back to Kenya might be traumatizing for both the characters, and you find out some information that you don't exactly expect. There is lots of kind of lines crossed in terms of things that you would do for friendships, lots of like relationships line crossed and stuff like that. There is, I'm not saying that as in there's cheating in this, because it's far from that, and it is very fictional, contemporary fiction. It's not a romance at all. There's elements of romance in there, but you're looking at it more from a best friend's perspective, and you're basically following Yvonne's like slice of life. I have been enjoying it. I will say, I said the same thing with The Fall, and I'll say the same thing with this, is that I do not feel the desire to pick this up. When I'm reading it and listening to it, I do get sucked into the story, but it's not necessarily one that I would recommend to people. I probably will forget quite a lot what this is about. It'll be one that by the end of the year I will have remembered I've read it because it's been on my TBR for so long, but it's not one that I'm necessarily going to ever really think about. I do think it's well written. It is a good book. It's got a lot of good like points to it about friendship, about honesty, about connections and kind of families and dynamics, but I wouldn't necessarily say this is a groundbreaking book that everyone has to go out and read, because I'm not finding it like that. It's not my type of genre, but knowing that it is still well written, I'm really not sure how I'm going to rate it. I'm excited, or not excited, it would probably be a bad way to put it, but I'm intrigued to see how the fallout happens now. So there was, in the past chapter that we've just been in, Yvonne told Emma, who is the mum, her secret that she's been keeping, and it impacts every character in this story. So Yvonne told Emma, and that happened before the big event to Emma happened, and so Kiama, who is the son, has also just found that out. So it's kind of showing the parallels of both of them finding out the same information and how it's played out. And I'm guessing then it will find out as well that a lot of this secret has to lead to what happened and everything. So I am intrigued to see how it carries on, and I am intrigued to kind of see how it does get wrapped up. Is it a kind of a happy ending towards the end? Is there something sad that's going to happen? I'm not sure, because it's not my type of genre that I normally read. I'm not sure whether this will all be wrapped up with a nice pretty bow, or whether there will be still some like slice of life questions asked and like unanswered. But I will check back in with you guys once I finish it, which should hopefully be later today, and then once we finish this one we can get started on the last book for this video, which is Room. So little different dynamic we've got here. We finished Homecoming. This story, I'm simultaneously, obviously because this is audiobooks, and as you guys know if you've been a long time watcher, I will listen to an audiobook and read a physical book at the same time, and I'm filming this video alongside, I think the other video's already out, let me just check. Yeah, so I'm filming this video alongside my reading romance only, which was out on Sunday, because I'm reading the romance. I read the romance book physically and I'm reading these through audiobook. I can kind of do them at the same time, so I'm at par, like I read one for the romance and I'm listening to one. So it's kind of sad because I've just finished book 2 of that video as well, which is following the same kind of realm where they were good but they weren't anything special, and this has definitely followed that. I feel like this book touches a lot on, I want to say found family, but it's more like found friendship. Emma, who is Kiama's mum, her best friend Yvonne, who is like the female main character in this book, is her found family. So she doesn't always get on with her mum and dad, and so that is her chosen family, and it shows a very strong depiction of being let down by those around you for various reasons. And what I will say is, I believe I said in the start of this that the Kiama's family are both African. Now I'm still not sure where his dad Liam is from, so I assume it's Africa or somewhere like that. I'm pretty sure I've got that idea from somewhere, but don't quote me on that. And Kiama's mum, Emma, her family are expats from the UK. So they've lived in the UK and then they've gone over to Kenya, and then she's been brought up in Kenya. So she is from Kenya kind of background, but her family aren't Kenyan. So I just wanted to clear that up. Homecoming, it is a sweet story of a coming of age boy trying to find out more about his mum that's unfortunately passed away when he was quite young through an unfortunate incident that happened. You find out that all the characters had a lot to play into it. I do really like the way that this story ended. I think the way that the story ended was really sweet and kind of full circle, and it helped a lot. But what I will say is towards the end you didn't find out a lot about Kiama. He kind of fell off and it focused more on Yvonne. But I did enjoy the book. I wouldn't rush out to recommend it. I wouldn't rush out to read it again, or to, I don't know whether I'll hold on to this book. It'll go onto my bookshelf, and then maybe if I do a reorganizing I might unhaul it, because it's not necessarily one that I will ever think about or pick up again. It definitely falls under the category of I will probably forget that what the story's about by the end of the year, but I'm glad I picked it up because I've had it on my TBR and on my audio list for so long now that this being picked up feels like a massive goal. And obviously with this one being done, we are going to move on to our third and final book of this video, which is Room by Emma Donoghue. I have not yet started it. It's currently Monday. I finished Homecoming, I believe, on Friday, and I've not yet started Room. I have been doing kind of walks on my walking pad or in the house a little bit more, so I've not been going out, and I was going to start it this morning, but Rachel Catherine uploaded a video over the weekend, and so I watched that whilst doing my workout and walk this morning. So I'm excited to pick this up. I'm intrigued. I don't know what this is going to follow because literally on the back it just says that the boy is 5 and he lives in a single locked room with his mum. So I'm intrigued to see where we go from there. It's not the story that I thought it was going to be, so I'm sure it's going to be kind of sad and harrowing, but also really interesting, I'm hoping. So I will check back in when I've actually started this book and give you some thoughts and stuff like that. But I don't think the audiobook's that long, so hopefully we will get that done and then the video will be done. So I'm gonna go read this one. We have made quite a bit of progress into Room, so we are 60% of the way through. This story, I mean, the back doesn't give you a lot. It literally just says Jack is 5, he lives in a single locked room with his ma, and that's all you get. And I don't really want to touch too much on the storyline purely for the fact that the back gives you nothing, and I think that that is beautiful to go into this with nothing. What I will say is I found out through looking at Goodreads reviews quite early on, because I was a bit confused at the start, that it is based on a somewhat true story. Again, I won't tell you which story because if you know that story then it will give away the plot of the book, but this story is disgusting but like invigorating, and you're rooting for them, and then you're also, and now I'm over halfway, and if you've read the book before you know what happens, you're also kind of worried for them, especially around society and stuff like that. And it is a story and a half that follows a lot of trauma. I would definitely say check the trigger warnings if you are if you've ever like had like childhood trauma or any SA or just then it is quite traumatic in that sense. What I will say is it's all spoken from the young boy's perspective. So the book doesn't have chapters, it has kind of, it's chunk, and from that I mean it starts off with like the presents section, and then you've got further sections going through, and it's all literally written like stream of consciousness. So you're going through and it is just a stream of consciousness as you go through. So you're following Jack's like stream of thoughts. For instance, it starts, I'll read the first paragraph for you. Today I'm 5. I was 4 last night going to sleep in wardrobe. But when I wake up in bed in the dark, I've changed to 5. Abracadabra. Before I was 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. Was I minus numbers? Mad. It does a big stretch. So it's very consciousness. It is all from his point of view. It is exactly how he is seeing the world. He is experiencing everything that's going on. So I am loving the audiobook. It's read with a young boy's voice. I don't think it was a young boy obviously reading this, but it is read with a young boy voice, and I am really enjoying the audiobook. Like I say, I didn't know what to expect from this book because the back gives you nothing, and I think that's a really good way to go into it. It's a very interesting story, it's a very intriguing story. I would say out of the 3 books that we've read, this one is the best that we've read so far. Will that bump it up to a 4? I'm not sure. I think at the moment it is a 3-star read just because it is quite heavy. I'm just not enjoying the heavy topics that's covered in this, but it is a disgusting, heartbreaking, but also a beautiful story, and I'm hoping that it continues on the trajectory of, we've had kind of a lot of negatives and now it's moving on to a more positive trajectory. I will say it has thriller aspects to it, as in some of the subject line that you often see in thrillers, but it does feel very much like contemporary fiction. It's like a literary fiction, and I feel like it feels kind of like a true crime documentary that you would watch on Netflix, where you've got the thriller elements to start with and then you move through the storyline, and it's not necessarily like a thriller. You're not watching it like that. It is just like a documentary, so it feels kind of like that, but I am enjoying it so far. At the moment it's kind of a 3, between that 3 and 4 star. I will see how I enjoy the last of it. I am quite gripped to it. I've got about an hour of listening time left, so I should finish this one tomorrow, as I don't think I'll read any more tonight because it is quite harrowing, so I don't want to be listening to it too late. But I am enjoying it, and I would would recommend, but please be careful of trigger warnings. We finished it. We finished Room. So I think I said yesterday on a check-in that I was going to try and finish Room today, and I did finish Room. I finished it on my run, and I don't know how to put this into words without spoiling anything, and so I'm going to keep this review section quite brief. I think this book is devastating story. The premise of the story is just devastating. To hear what this small child and his mum have to go through and what they go through and how they overcome the challenge that they're within is just devastating, and to know and to have that knowledge that it's from or based around, loosely around true stories is just so devastating. To know that obviously this happens in the real world, and it's so heartbreaking when you hear about this. I feel like the ending was quite abrupt, but not in a negative way. It kind of, you are following the story through the trauma, and at the end of the book they revisit part of that, and I feel like the trauma's not ended by any means, but I feel like that revisitation is kind of the last thing that they're going to do associated with Room, and then from then on they are obviously building their lives. And I think a book like this, if there's never going to be an end point, there shouldn't be. I'm so glad there wasn't an epilogue, because I feel like in a romance book, if the way it ended, you have an epilogue and it would have been their happily ever after. Now I feel like this is very true to the point where they revisit the situation, and if you had continued on, when do you end it? Do you end it at the point of trial? Do you end it at the point of after trial? Do you end it at the point where the child is then 18? When do you end it? And I feel like you could write this novel for, it could be thousands and thousands of pages long, because it is such a, you would then be following them through life with the trauma. And I feel like Emma's decided to end it at such a pivotal point, and actually it was very poignant at that point. I think that this is a story that might sit with me for a little while. It is disgusting in so many ways, but not in a bad way. It's disgusting in the way that the storyline and the thought that happening to you, anyone close to you, your nearest and dearest, is honestly makes your stomach drop and is vulgar. What they have to do to resolve that situation is dreadful, and the thought behind it, and just the hope that no one in my life personally ever has to go through it, as well as no one in the world ever has to go through it, but knowing for a fact that there is truth behind this, and there are people going through stuff like this, is just heartbreaking. But it's kind of a harrow ending to the video. Obviously we had 3 very different books in this video. We had The Fall, which was a 3-star thriller. We had Homecoming, which was a 3-star literary fiction that focused on friendship and secret and kind of drama, but in a very laid back way. And then we had Room, which was a literary fiction with a true crime element to it. And that, I'm giving this one a 4-star. I just feel like it wasn't quite that 5-star. It didn't elicit emotions in me, deep within me. It made me think about it, and obviously that makes my heart drop, my stomach feels sick, but it didn't elicit those kind of deep emotions where I was crying along with the story, which I feel like a story like this has the very potential to absolutely make you sob. What I will say for this one, for Room, please check the trigger warnings and just be careful what you're reading. If you're not in the right headspace, please don't read it, because it could be quite a triggering read, I am sure. But thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and hopefully next time we might have a few more positive books, or even just a few higher rated books. But I am so glad to get these off my TBR. Comment down below what books you guys are avoiding, and hold yourself accountable to achieving that comment by the end of the year. I have still several books on my TBR that I am avoiding, so I'm sure we'll make a part 2 of this video. But I look forward to speaking to you guys next time. Bye!